Soulstones are arguably the single most important resource in Watcher of Realms. Using them correctly can give your account an amazing boost. Using them improperly can really damage your progress. So in this video, I want to discuss how to use your unpolished soulstones. If you don't know the difference between polished soulstones and unpolished soulstones, well, first off, the unpolished soulstones look kind of jagged over here, as you can see. And then the polished ones are kind of rounded. They've been polished. But the main difference is polished soulstones can be used on legendary lords. Unpolished ones cannot. So for that simple reason, I am of the belief you should only ever use your polished soulstones on legendary lords. Moreover, with unpolished, I also have really strict beliefs. This video is sponsored by NordVPN. If you want safe browsing, if you want to access content and games all around the world, look no further. 74% off on a 2-year plan. It's literally the plan I myself bought. You can see I'm in Canada right now, so I can play on other Watcher of Realms accounts that are not US based. It is phenomenal. I recommend it. Click my link in the description and the top pinned comment to check it out. You can browse and game all around the world completely safely. So things change as the game changes. I made a guide on this about 3.5 months ago, but we need an update. Some new characters have arrived, some new content has arrived, the meta has changed, and also, consistently now, it seems at least once every 3 months, Moonton is giving us a free unpolished soulstone. As you can see to the side of me right here, I'm about to claim one. Almost everyone in the game should be claiming this as the event has just ended, or maybe you've already claimed it. So I want to tell you how you can best use it as of April 2025. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let me claim this thing and let's talk unpolished soulstones. So you can see these can aid in the awakening of any legendary hero aside from lords. So it just brings them up an awakening level. I think there is a really important strategy to how you use this. So before we talk about the characters I think these need to be used on, the only characters I think that are worthy of these unpolished soulstones, I want to talk about how to use an unpolished soulstone. Also guys, this video was a ton of fun, but also a ton of work. So if you appreciate it, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. So what am I saying? Yes, you can simply go into the game, go to Awakenings, and use them as a replacement. However, I think you need to sit on them until a certain point. So let's just say I wanted to make my Emerit A4. Yes, to use it, you go click on Awakenings, you click on the next Awakening, and then you have a Soulstone to use. This is the unpolished, this is the polished. Only use the polished on legendary lords and only use them on the very best legendary lords. However, what I mean by how to use them is just because a hero is good and is on my list does not mean the second you get an unpolished soulstone, you should put them onto that hero. A good example is Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong is maybe the best boss DPS in the game, and even at A0, he is outrageously good. You can see here with that claim, I do have 3 unpolished soulstones now. However, I've let him stay at A0 because he's just that good. If you do want to awaken him though, you need to do it properly, meaning make sure you can take him to the key essential awakening that will actually move the needle. Don't just slowly chip away at it. So if you had only 2 unpolished soulstones, it would be idiotic, in my opinion, to say, well, eventually I'm going to make Sun Wukong A3, so let me just put one in now, and then maybe in a month or 2 I'll get another, and then I'll get A3. I fundamentally think that is the wrong way to use soulstones. You can do whatever you want, guys. This is just my opinion. I do not think he's ever worth awakening until you can guarantee him A3, so you should wait until you have the materials to take him straight to A3 and get that key amazing awakening. Now, let me show you a practical reason why that's so important. So let's say you'd been slowly chipping away at Sun Wukong as you were getting your unpolished soulstones, and you got him A1, and then finally with this event, you got him A2. However, in that time you were chipping away, wasting your soulstones because you weren't getting him to that key important awakening with the A3, Diao Chan was released, and Diao Chan's key awakening is literally her A1. So if you had just waited, you could have already gotten a huge boost to your account by using just 1 unpolished soulstone on Diao Chan instead of wasting 2 in the direction of Sun Wukong's A3. I hope that makes sense. Yes, it requires being patient. Yes, Sun Wukong would marginally improve from A1 and A2, but it is essential, in my opinion, with both your polished soulstones and your unpolished, that you do not progressively and gradually invest into heroes you like. Do the investment once you have exactly the soul stones you need. If you have A1 Kagiri, for example, let's say my Kagiri was A1, you should not be putting a single soul stone into him until you have 2 more to guarantee you go straight to his game-breaking A3. All right, I had to get that out of the way. Let's go to the list. So my list is short because I think there are only 5 heroes in the game right now that you can justify using your unpolished soul stones on. Even if you don't have these 5, I'm strictly of the belief you wait until you get them, or you wait until the next meta-defining, limited, exclusive 200 guarantee hero comes, and then maybe you use your soul stones on that once we learn what the best awakening for that hero is, and you're prepared to accomplish that. I know this requires patience. I know it will feel like you're stalling out your account, but you will regret it. I honestly believe that. If you plan to play the game for more than just a couple months, you will regret using these in the wrong place. So as you can see, this is a thorough list. It's only 5, but I have many different kinds of rankings. So right now, I will unveil the 5 heroes to you who you should use your unpolished soul stones on. Then I will have a nice picture of them. Then I've got my PvE rankings, who's the most important, player versus environment. Then I have my PvP rankings, who's the most important. So that's Guild Wars and Arena. Then I have the value rankings, which awakening of these 5 is the biggest game changer of the bunch. Then I have the overall rankings, which probably a lot of you are most interested in. And then I have honorable mentions. So those are 5 other heroes outside of these 5. But I want to make it clear, I sincerely believe you should never, ever, ever, at least as of April 2025, before new heroes and new pieces of content come into Watch of Realms, you should never use an unpolished soulstone on a hero that is not one of these 5. So let's unveil them. These are just alphabetical to start, and then we'll get into our rankings. So we've got Ajax. He is an unnameable hero. Then we have got Diao Chan. She is obviously an amazing, exclusive, limited hero. You can only summon her if it's her limited banner. Following suit, next we have Kagiri, another exclusive limited hero. Then we have got another one, Sun Wukong, obviously. And finally, we have the second unnameable, Ymeric. So there's a theme here, right? I sincerely believe you should never, ever, ever use an unpolished soulstone on any hero that is not a limited 200 exclusive and that is not a super overpowered one. And these are the 3 best in the game, Diao Chan, Kagiri, and Sun Wukong. Or on an unnameable, because the unnamables are so good, so versatile, and so rare. They have legendary lord rates. So yes, you can always pull Ymeric from an ancient summon. You can always pull Ajax from a rare summon, an ancient summon, or a divine summon, but they are so hard to get. Ajax is as rare as a Torador. Ymeric is as rare as a Praetus or a Soul Cadence. So you get the picture. To be worthy of an unpolished soulstone, in my opinion, you need to be an unbelievably rare, meta, unnameable dragon hero, or you need to be a top tier limited exclusive. So let's get in. These are the big 5. I made a cute little picture covering up Ymeric's face. But yeah, let's go. So the PvE rankings. As you might expect, Sun Wukong comes in at number 1. How do you read this ranking list? Well, you can see this is simply which characters to use them on. These are the rankings. These are the names. But then here, the desired minimum awakening. So before you use your soul stones on that hero, you need to make sure in that moment you can hit that awakening. So yes, Sun Wukong is, in my opinion, the best PvE investment in the game, especially for a progression account. I want to make that distinction. We'll talk about someone else who I actually think is superior to Sun Wukong once you're in the end game. Trust me, I'll explain why. Don't worry. However, just because he's rated number 1 does not mean I condone you putting your soul stones into him whenever you get them. Put your soul stones into him when you can hit his key awakenings. So first it is A3, and then I'll throw this in here. Then you've got A5. Let's actually quickly talk about Sun Wukong's awakenings. The A3 is where it all changes, right? Now his clones, not just him, have chances to inflict stun, which allows everything in his kit to stack better. They're also going to have chances to deal more damage, and they can also help him gain these stacks of Sunder. Sunder, that is the thing in his kit that allows for just the crazy damage. He can consume these stacks, and he's going to ignore 60% of the target's defense for 15 seconds. It is hard because his ult comes up so quickly to stack that appropriately every time his ult is ready. However, if he's building those stacks with his clones, it's a whole nother level. So the DPS goes up in a huge way. On top of that, you get extra damage. But then the key thing, he becomes completely capable of managing all the stunning you'd ever need for Apocalypse 2, for Guild Wars, anything like that. So everything changes for Sun Wukong at A3. And at A5, A very important thing to think about with Sun Wukong, unless you need that damage to progress, which many of you will, he's already so good at Awaken level 0. That is why I've let mine sit there, and even though I do have 3 Soulstones right now, I will not be bringing him to A3. But I am an endgame account, so that's something we're going to talk about later. What does his A5 do, though? A lot of stuff. He gets a much bigger damage boost. During his ultimate, he essentially deals double damage. 18 instances goes up to 36 instances. The damage boost here from Undaunted Might goes from 5% to 30%. And on top of that, he can get a lot more triggers out of his passive. It is a phenomenal A5. It is not the best A5 on the list, though, in my opinion. All right, so we've got Sun Wukong A3 and A5, so do not be awakening him until you can guarantee you're reaching A3 or A5. Now, Diao Chan, all of her awakenings are amazing. However, the A1 changes everything. I actually think you could argue this is the best awakening in the entire game. So if you don't know, Diao Chan has a normal diamond range. And everything she does is a basic attack, or it's people in her basic attack range. So increasing that range increases everything. So this is what it normally looks like. However, if you can get her at A1, this range here that she normally has becomes Aelin range, as I like to say. It's this enormous thing. Maybe it doesn't seem like much to you, but this enables such crazier placements and strategies for content across the board. Normal PvE, boss content, and tons of stuff in Arena. It is everything. It is phenomenal. So getting this, it's the easiest investment on the list. She's the only one where the target first awakening is just A1, and it is so supremely powerful. So bringing her from that Dolores range to the Aelin range is just, it's so good, it's hard to even put it into words. So next, we're going to have Diao Chan, because this is going to help you if you're progressing in all the gear raids. It can help a lot in the gear dungeons, especially Gear Dungeon 1. And then, of course, it is just crazy for Abyss. So when you're talking about the ultimate boss content, this is basically required for all the top teams. Next up, we have Kagiri. So Kagiri's key ones are A3 and A5, just like Sun Wukong. However, I would like to say I believe Kagiri's A3 is the most powerful in terms of DPS awakening in the whole game. Before Kagiri is A3, he is a pretty good DPS and then a great utility hero in his ability to strip off buffs, to dispel buffs from your enemies, particularly in Apocalypse 2 and Apocalypse 1 of Semra, right? However, starting at A3, all of a sudden, he is a DPS on the level of Sun Wukong. Basically, whenever he does these strikes, he will get these crazy damage boosts. And after he's done each one once with his 2 kind of strikes, Sweeping Strike and Ember Strike, these boosts become permanent. And the damage multipliers are just through the roof. He becomes as strong a DPS for boss content as Sun Wukong. And in general, he's just a true PvE monster. Nothing in this game of this group of heroes we're about to talk about, awakening-wise, moves the needle more in terms of transforming a DPS hero than Kagiri's A3. A0 Wukong compared to A0 Kagiri, it's night and day. Wukong is a god, Kagiri kind of sucks if we're talking about top-end stuff. A3, they're basically equal. A5, let's get to that now. When Kagiri's at A5, he is better than Sun Wukong. At least in the hardest content in the game, he hits harder in Abyss 1 than Sun Wukong does. An A5 Kagiri and an A5 Wukong. It's nuts. I've even seen A3 Kagiris hit harder than A5 Wukongs. So what happens at his A5? Basically, he will always trigger a counter. So he doesn't always just strike forward. He always triggers the strike back. It is nuts. It is doubling up the damage. Kagiri is crazy. He completely transforms with those 2. Now we've got Iax and Ymmerit. Though all of their awakenings are good, they might be 2 of the only heroes in the game, actually Diao Chan fits in there too, where every single awakening is good. I will say with Iax and Ymmerit, A3 is going to be enough for the vast majority of content. If you're super, super high end in Guild Wars or something, you might want those A5s. But in general, we're going to stop at A3. That is enough. So with Iax at A1, he gets more crit damage during his ultimate. That's cool, but you don't need it. At A2, some of you guys might think this is the key thing here because it boosts their Ancient Blood. Ymmerit has the same thing. So now instead of a global damage boost for all the team members of 4%, it is 6%. This does not feel as big as it actually is. It's like a 1 to 1.5% boost in damage to everyone on the field. That is not worthy of your Soulstones. Wait till you can get him A3. He also gets an attack boost to himself, which is great. But yeah, not worth it. However, at A3, because Ajax is such a menace in Guild Wars, but also just a god in Arena in general, A3 is crazy. Only 10% boost, but that is such a huge difference from 15% to 25% to trigger his really nasty Thunder Strike. Getting this extra lightning with the big AoE damage and the slow is just so crazy nice. The A4 is really cool because he becomes a lot cheaper, but you really outgrow that and won't need that later in the game. And then at A5, the increased damage he gets when this passive is triggered is phenomenal, but it is the A3, in my opinion, that changes everything. I want to point out one more thing before we go on to your merit, and don't worry, we won't have to break everything down this intently through our next 4 little sheets over here. But I do want to say the desired minimum awakenings, these are globally across PvE and PvP. So if you just cared about PvE and you just loved Ajax or your merit, A2 might be a goal. However, when you invest in one of these heroes with Soulstones, you should be thinking big picture, everything. And if that's the case, I really think these are the targets, full stop, for everything. So you merit. Let's talk about him now. His A1, I think this is cool, not so huge. It's really nice in Guild Wars, but you don't need it too many other places. The freeze is really good. A2 is identical to Ajax, so it's really powerful, especially if you care about PvE stuff, but it's not the total game changer that the A3 is. Now he doesn't just place Winter's Bite from other parts of his kit. He can place it from all of his basic attacks, which is a huge difference, and the amount of RNG and crowd control and craziness that leads to, both in controlling mobs in PvE, but especially in Guild Wars for torturing your opponents as they come at you with their demon soldiers. This is crazy. And then additionally, the duration of Winter's Bite is increased by 2 seconds if anyone's in his talent range. If you don't know his talent range, actually kind of similar to Ajax's passive, it's going to be everybody within 2 tiles. So a 2-tile radius and a circle around him. That's really, really good. So if you care about PvP especially, but just in general, you want your merit at his full strength in terms of crowd control, the A3 is nutty. The A4 Rage Regen attack is cool, but we don't need it. And then the A5, the increased ultimate range is cool, but we don't need it. So for him and Ajax, to me, it's pretty clearly A3. That is not to take away from any of their other awakenings. All right, I think we have a pretty good understanding of our big 5 now. This is going to be PvE. To take you through why these are the PvE rankings, Sun Wukong can be used in any piece of boss content, basically. He's just the best melee single target DPS in the game. So if you're progressing in PvE content, he's just so humongous to invest in. Diao Chan, like I said, she enables completely unique strategies once you increase her range, and she is just definitively a top 5 hero in this entire game, so you just want her at that full capability to allow you to have a lot of customization in how you place your units and get full potential. Kagiri, I think this goes without saying, he's mostly just a boss killer, though you can use him in other stuff, but specifically in PvP, I'm talking about boss killing, and I'm talking about him being completely average at A0 and completely a god at A3, and then whatever's above a god, a super god, a supreme being at A5. Ajax and your merit, they're just going to help you everywhere, and their A3s kind of change their whole kit. Ajax I have above your merit, especially in PvE, though I also have him above your merit in PvP, just because it's a lot more useful. Ymerit's lack of block during his ultimate can be very strange in PvE content. All right, the PvP rankings, this might surprise you, but we did just have the maps change, and Diao Chan is officially a complete and utter required god for top-end Arena. She's mostly going to be Arena-focused over GVG, though you could use her in GVG, but in Arena, with the new maps, you need that expanded range. Like, to do the meta placements, you need her A1, enough said. For Ajax, he is on so many of the top teams across multiple arena modes because of his ability to work as an arbiter. Frankly, that's what it all comes down to, and he is just fantastic. Go check out the leaderboards. It is nuts. And then if you get him A3, the extra RNG, the increased chance for that lightning, the extra slows, the extra damage is mind-numbingly frustrating when it comes to Guild Wars when you're attacking those defenses. Ymerit, he is just amazing in Guild Wars, and he's truly unlocked when he hits A3, but just a phenomenal hero. And he also has the same versatility as Ajax. You'll see him on some top 10 teams in the world for Arena. I could see him getting even more popular with the new maps. Finally, we have Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong and Kagiri. I think Sun Wukong obviously gets the edge in terms of PvP, and he's very, very annoying in Guild Wars defense, though I think he's surprisingly beatable if you've got the right strategies. And then he's really, really good in single target Arena. I do think these guys are a notch below the other 3. Kagiri, you can absolutely use him in single target Arena. That's basically it. He is definitively the worst on our list when it comes to PvP. Now, the value rankings. Which awakening, when you can guarantee you will reach it, has the most bang for your buck? Like, what will transform that hero the most? And for this, I honestly don't think there's an argument that Kagiri and Diao Chan are 1 and 2. That's not to say Sun Wukong isn't the greatest, and A3 and A5 Wukong isn't the most OP thing ever. But Kagiri A0 compared to Kagiri A3 is so much better of a jump. Like, the boost in ability is so monumental compared to A0 Sun Wukong compared to A3. That does not mean A3 Sun Wukong isn't a big improvement and super OP. And if you're the kind of player that still needs to progress a ton and you just need a single insane DPS carry, Sun Wukong will be your ticket across all content. But just talking about a general boost, the difference between an A0 and an A3 Kagiri, it's like twice the damage, if not more. Very, very often it is more. It is completely crazy the amount this guy transforms. And I'll tell you, I can make a video out of it if you guys want to see, but your team will get more DPS out of an A0 Sun Wukong and an A3 Kagiri than an A0 Kagiri and an A3 Sun Wukong. And the same thing goes for A5. And then the most important thing, because so many people like to rush Sun Wukong to A3, the insane boost you will get having an A3 Kagiri and an A3 Sun Wukong compared to an A0 Kagiri and an A5 Sun Wukong is tremendous. So we can cover that if you want, or please just take my word for it. This value boost is insane. Diao Chan we talked about a ton, right? Just that new range enables a million more things. Sun Wukong, the A3, is just crazy. You get Sunder stacks way faster, you get way more stuns, and it all leads to more damage and more crowd control. For Iax, with the A3, you want the increased instances of his lightning, of his thunder, and then Ymeric, you want more Winter's Bite. Now, the moment you are all waiting for, if we go to the overall rankings, this might ruffle some feathers. You can see I put him as 1A, 1B, but I really do think Diao Chan is number 1, and I'll explain why. But this is going to be, you know, if you had all the soul stones and all the heroes, this is the order you should go in. Why did I put Diao Chan slightly above Sun Wukong? A couple reasons. First off, it just fundamentally changes how you are able to use her. So not just her power or anything like that, it literally unlocks new placement strategies, and the importance of that cannot be understated. And then the real tiebreaker between her and Sun Wukong is just going to be simply, it's only a 1 soulstone investment. So unless your Sun Wukong was already sitting at A2, this is so much easier to achieve. It's just 1 additional awakening. Sun Wukong, for most people, you'll need 3 soulstones to accomplish this. That all being said, I still think Diao Chan A1, with the current new content that has entered the game, moves the needle more, but obviously these two are just elite. They get 1A and 1B. Kagiri comes in at number 3. However, I'll tell you, with the way my account is personally, I'm very close to putting all 3 of my unpolished soulstones into him. It's just truly Kagiri for a lot of content, especially once your endgame, is unusable DPS-wise when he's A0, and he is top tier when he's A3. And that change from like not very good to completely OP is huge. You know, Sun Wukong starts off just at a much higher level, but by the time they're A3, DPS-wise, especially against bosses, they arrive at the same place. Iax and Ymeric, we've covered them a bunch. It's all the same. I just think overall, the vast majority of players want to progress. These guys will help you in PvP. These guys are going to help you with that global progression across everything, especially against bosses and especially in PvE. So there you have it. I hope this all made sense. Let's quickly do our honorable mentions. I think you can probably guess the theme I will go with. Obviously, there are no more unnamables to discuss, but if there were other dragons, and I'm sure they'll end up being good, they will be great candidates for soulstones. Outside of that, it has to be other exclusive limited heroes, the ones that come out once in a while and then disappear and have their 200 guaranteed banner. So you can see we've got the Desired Awakenings here. Lust is fantastic, but you need her A5 to really, really feel the big change. That is when her DPS goes to the crazy level, when she is stronger against bosses than Arrogance, for example, where in a lot of things she can exceed an A3 Twyla, right? That is crazy. However, how can you justify doing it when A5 Lust is strictly worse than A3 Kagiri or A3 Sun Wukong? 100%. You might be saying, but I have Lust and I don't have the other two. Then I say wait. Have you noticed a pattern here? There are three limited exclusive 200 guaranteed heroes, and these are the last 3 that have come to Watcher of Realms. It went Kagiri, then Sun Wukong, then Diao Chan. And what do you know? They are all super OP. So there's no way I think people can justify putting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 soulstones to get a lust to A5 when you know the next DPS will be stronger than her and the previous 2 already were. So I just don't think you can justify it. I think the easiest one to justify on the honorable mentions is Anora, because she is strictly unique. She's good in all content, and particularly she's insanely OP if you have your merit and you have the right comps for Guild Wars defense. So if you really want that, especially after the rerun, if you've got her A2 and you want to put a soulstone in, I would never do it, but I would never judge you for doing it. Then we have the easiest investment on the list. That's going to be Captain Reeve. I know I haven't shown all of them, but I will show him very quickly. If you can get him A1, I've actually pulled him A1, but all of a sudden he has very constant and consistent stuns. Every 4 attacks, he has an AoE stun for 1 second. That is a lot. You could see if a Guild Wars meta changed, this could be really valuable. As it stands now, he's still good, but I would never do this. And then finally, we have a question mark for Falsia. I have not tested her since her buff. At the time of filming, it's obviously not even live in the game yet. So to me, I don't think she'll be worth it, but I wanted to at least shout her out in this video in case, something happens and surprises us. The final honorable mention is the most asked question regarding soulstones I ever receive. Should I use my soulstone to make Hex A3? When it comes to special boss DPS in this game for normal heroes you can pull traditionally from your normal summoning that are always in the hero pool, right? They're not exclusive and limited. Hex is number 1. Hex A3 is crazy. He just ults forever. So people always want to know if it's worth it. And to that I say no. It really isn't. I've never seen a piece of content where someone needed him A3. You can always clear it without him A3. The main place he shines right now is Abyss 1. He shines because he can take the shield down. He does not need to be ulting for the additional 30 seconds his A3 provides to take down the shield, which only lasts about 12 to 20 seconds, something like that. I'm sure someone in the comments will know the exact time. But the timing takes far less than his traditional ultimate, which with skill ups already lasts 35 seconds, right? So you can just wait and time it out for the shield. Yes, at the A3, this is crazy. It can help you a ton in Guild Boss 2, and obviously it can be the difference for many people between 50k and no 50k in Nightmare 4, Guild Boss 1. But that being said, everybody that has ever gotten 50k using Hex and didn't have A3 did it. No one has ever hit a hard wall with progression because they didn't have A3 Hex. I was over 80k on Nightmare 4 for basically a year without putting any effort into it while my Hex was at A1 and A2. So you just don't need it. Grind it out. Getting his exclusive is going to be the game-changing crazy thing. So if you don't have the exclusive, do your AMR 22 over and over and over. Stay on top of your Void Rift to get your chance at the Gleaming Meteorites. That will be the game changer. The A3 is amazing, but you don't need it. You really, really don't, and you will regret it because you will pull another Hex, and then you'll have A4 Hex, and you'll be like, oh my god, the new guy, Big Ball Buster 10,000 just came out. He's a limited, and you only need him A1, but you wasted your Soulstone on A3 Hex, and then you have to wait another 4 months. So there you have it, guys. These are my overall rankings and my definitive list of the big 5 heroes you should only ever use your unpolished Soulstones on. Obviously, as new content comes in and new heroes come in, this will change, and I will update the list. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Fastidious. If you like my stuff, please subscribe to the channel. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments. You can come argue with me, share with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.